Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. The number one radio network in the United States of America is iHeartRadio, and Big C Sports is voted the number one sports show in the universe, Big C, according to the good old boys down south. Also, the Raiders from the Black Hole love their fans over in Oakland. Don't appreciate the way that moonshine tastes, Big C, but I do love their fans in the Black Hole. Also, I want to say bienvenidos to all of you listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Charlton and Big C Sports. And, of course, our friends across the pond in Paris, France. It's also London, England. But, of course, the second favorite country to me is my good old boy friends from, Canada, our home and favorite land. It's native land, man. See, Big C. I'm sorry, Kelly. I had a lot of peer pressure on me that time back. Big C, I'll get it right next time. But there's nothing like the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good up boys down south?
We're just getting ready for a celestial weekend down here. Everything is going to be calm and bright.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for a smash weekend of football. The playoffs are coming into play. The bowl situation is getting ready to kick off in another week. This is an exciting time down here to be a Southerner.
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's such an exciting time this time of year because everybody's jockeying for position. And speaking of jockeying for position, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive one, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And, of course, Big C, I'll tell you this. You know how people copy something that's really good? I mean, there's nothing like being flattered by someone. And the biggest form of flattery is when somebody copies your work. I'm seeing guys driving around in other SUVs that are all muddy now, Big C. It's not just your muddy Cadillac Escalade, but everybody's getting their hand in the mud, Big C. Your thought, Big C?
Well, Charlton, it's really wonderful to be a trendsetter. Still at this age that people want to emulate you, to be stylish. That's the thing. The car shows character.
Oh, yeah.
When people see me driving down the street, they know it's me, Charlton. because no one else is that bold to have that dirty of a beautiful car.
Yeah,
that car, no one's going to take it because the police spotted it in a hurry.
Yeah, that's true, dude, Big C. And we don't want to stop and frisk, especially with the good old boys getting back in the office. But I also want to say, today is a great show. It is actually December the 16th, 2016. And we're counting down to this beautiful holiday season, Big C. Everybody, they told me when I was downtown at the Golden One Center today, just doing some pre-fight interviews and talking to some of the people going by, doing some commercials, and they had Santa Claus. Well, Santa says he knows if you've been naughty or nice, so I was sweating, Big C, when I was doing that interview. I wonder if he really knows. Does Santa knows if you're naughty or nice, Big C?
There's a whole lot of times I can't confirm or deny whether I've been naughty,
Okay.
I'm always a nice guy.
I understand. I can imagine how nervous Donald Trump might feel if Santa comes around to the White House when he's starting to go around trumping around the White House. That's funny to me. But also, I want to bring up this big fight coming up on Fox. It's called the UFC Fight Night on Fox 22, and that's going to be Saturday night at the Golden One Center. We're just over at Team Alpha Male, the fighting camp for Uriah Faber, kind of a local Northern California hero. Grew up in Lincoln, but now has a couple of gyms in Northern California. So it should be a great fight coming up. Also interviewed some other great fighters over there, and really excited about the happenings coming up on UFC Fight Night on Fox. And also there's a Michelle Watterson. She's fighting Paige Van Zant. That's going to be a big match. And then Uriah Faber, he's fighting Brad Puckett. Brad Puckett's 25-12. Faber's 33-10. And then Michelle Watterson, she's 13-4. Paige Van Zant is 7-2. Also, we interviewed earlier, Big C, Josh Emmett, who's undefeated. He's 10-0, and he's fighting Scott Holtzman. Just your thoughts, Big C. Those are some of the fights. Your thoughts on why the UFC is such a big attraction now, Big C. Right ahead, sir.
Jonathan, the UFC has become the ultimate force in physical entertainment. When you look at it, boxing was America's legacy for decades, but the UFC came along because boxing became more of a chess match than a checker match. And the UFC, it's like Chinese poker, really. It's fast-paced. And what you're looking at, it's intense. action. You know you're going to get grappling, you're going to get punching, you're going to get choking. You're going to get all this thrown into it. It's a street fight. It's a bar inside of a little octagon, Charlton, is what it is. It's a bar fight inside of an octagon. And Americans have always been fascinated by physicality.
Yeah.
And that's what you get in the UFC fights, Charlton. You know you can have a favorite going in, but one punch will change the dynamics of the whole fight.
Yeah,
and we've seen that in many times. Conor McGregor, 2 fights ago, that's what changed the dynamics in his fight.
Yeah.
One punch. Ronda Rousey, same thing happened to her last year. The dynamics changed with one punch.
Yeah,
this is an exciting event. You can sit down. It's like going to a Tyson fight, Charlton. You knew you weren't going to be there for 15 rounds.
That's so true, Big C. And so many things happening in Northern California. I especially love being around the Golden One Center. Big C, I actually had another run-in with that bunny rabbit. It's a $10 million bunny rabbit, and I didn't touch it, but I took a lot of pictures around it, Big C. I'll actually send you some. It's actually pretty sexy, Big C. I kind of fell in love with the bunny rabbit, Big C. Do I have an issue with that, Big C, or is that okay?
If you have a Houston a whole lot of people fell in love with the bunny rabbit.
Yeah.
Doing things in the 70s and 80s. So, I can see your asphyxiation with the rabbit, Charlton.
It reminds me of Ronda Rabbit. Wasn't there a skit where there was a Ronda Rabbit? Man.
Jessica Rabbit.
Oh, Jessica Rabbit.
One thing
yeah.
Since you're talking about Playboy Bunny, is this rabbit dressed or not?
Oh, man. Well, that's a good... Hey, I cannot confirm or deny. Let's just say what happens at the Golden One Center stays at the Golden One Center, Big C. And speaking of some mixed martial arts, man, I think Goff, the quarterback, the first-round NFL draft pick, he must have felt like he was in a martial arts fight last night, 13-25, 135 yards against the Legion of Boom defense. It was actually knocked out of that game, Big C. He has to learn to slide and lay down. I feel for Goff because he was pushed on the scene before he was even ready for it. I want him to succeed because I want every athlete to succeed. But going against the Legion of Boom, it was like he was on the high school football team going against you good old boys down in Alabama, Big C. Your thoughts on the Rams? And also, I love the throwback helmets, even though they didn't do the whole jersey. The throwback helmets were off the hook. But Seattle, that Puget Green, man, get rid of that stuff. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, I saw that on the Kids' Choice Awards on Nickelodeon, the slime contest.
Yeah.
It was like antifreeze that they were wearing.
Yeah.
When you talk about Jeff Goff, Charlton, and the struggles that he's had as an NFL quarterback, when you say a guy is not ready, why draft him?
Yeah.
That's the key to any scenario. If he's not ready, why spend the number 1 overall draft pick on a player to have him sit on the bench?
Yeah.
Draft a guy who can help your organization. Draft yourself an offensive lineman. There were plenty of them in the draft that the Rams could have benefited from. Defensive lineman, Charlton, there were several of those that the Rams could have benefited from. But you say that the guy who's NFL ready and to help a quarterback, an organization grow was this quarterback. And of all the quarterbacks taken in the draft, I think he's gotten the less of all out of any of them. And I'm talking about guys who were drafted in the later rounds also, Charlton.
Yeah,
Their
I agree.
expectation. So when you look at Goff, and he was knocked out of the game last night by Richard Sherman, a fellow Pac-12 player, you got to understand, like you said, as a quarterback, you got to know how to slide.
Yeah.
You can't take on these monstrous NFL players and think that you're still in college.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. They're tremendous athletes across the board on defense in the NFL. And that's what the Rams are facing. They should understand that just from practice.
Yeah.
They have one of the better defensive lines in all of pro football, Charlton. It's just that their offense is not giving their defense any support. And when you look at what happened to them last night in Seattle, I think they went into that game, a 16 and a half point underdog?
16, yeah.
And we were thinking that might have been too much because they've beaten the Seahawks the last 3 times that they had played each other.
Yeah.
But last night, Seattle just dominated the game, Charlton. And even pulled a fake punt late in the game, Charlton, in the 4th quarter, and got their kicker knocked out of the game under concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So they lost their punter. He didn't know how to slide.
No, did you see? Pete Carroll was laughing about it. He said it was a good play. Obviously, they're testing everything out for the playoffs coming up. Some people thought they were rubbing it in into the face of the Rams, but I don't think that's the case at all.
Well, Charlton, if you look at what Fisher had done to them before he was winning 3 in a row, it was like, hey, they rubbed those in. I mean, there was one game they just kept scoring on Seattle last season.
Yeah.
You know, in their second straight win against Seattle, they just kept pouring it on, scored over 40 points. They didn't care. No one said that they were rubbing it in. You know, it's a little different depending on which team is losing and who's scoring the points, Charlton, whether you're rubbing it in or are you just working on what you need to be prepared for the next game. You don't want to lose the rhythm that you have. You know, people will say that in sports.
Yeah, this is the game where you have to go in to win. That's what the NFL is all about. It's not about feeling sorry for your opponent. And as we jump into the NFL Big C, I just want to get a quick rundown on all the games coming up in Week 15. Number 1, the Miami Dolphins at 8-5. They're at the New York Jets at 5-9. That game is actually on a Saturday at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time on the NFL Network. The great Mike Tirico and Doug Flutie have the play-by-play. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, you know, when you think about a game at that level, Miami desperately needs the game. Okay, you got Matt quarterback now going to finish out the season for the Dolphins. This is a game that they should be able to win. You know, who are the Jets? The Jets are trying to figure that out each week. Which team is going to show up? They struggled last week against the 49ers, had to go to overtime to win that game.
Yeah.
Miami won the game last week. So this is a game I expect for Miami to win. They beat Arizona last week in a deluge down in Miami.
Yeah.
If it's a fast track, look for a guy to go over 100 yards to get in the game, Charles.
Well, the Dolphins are favored in that game by 2. The next game, the Tennessee Titans at 7-6, and they're at the Kansas City Chiefs that are 10-3. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Jamie Erdahl is doing the play-by-play, and the Chiefs are actually favored by 5 points in that game. Big C, this is big for Tennessee, and also Kansas City as far as the playoffs are concerned. Your thoughts, Big C?
Kansas City, you know, is a ground and pound team right now. Very, very sturdy ball control team when you think about it. Alex Smith with his precision passing, you know, they've gotten great, you know, ground support out of the two-back tandem that they have in the backfield. But, you know, when you look at Tennessee, they desperately need this game. This game will dictate what their season is going to be. They lose this game, Charlton, they're out of the playoffs. They have a solid running game in Murray, you know, second leading rusher in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, people remember him 2 years ago in Dallas where he led the NFL in rushing.
Yeah.
And that was the key to that team being successful. People keep thinking Tony Romo. What had they done since, you know, Murray left the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
Their team won 4 games last year. And now that they got Ezekiel Elliott, you see where they are, back on the top of the heap running the football. Murray has to duplicate that this week if they expect to stay in the game. Mariota needs to be more consistent in staying in the pocket, Charlton. He's the biggest enemy of his offense when he tries to get outside the pocket and throw the ball on the run.
Yeah, and also, that's a good thing to watch, Big C. The next game we want to look at is something that really could shape up a lot. We'll just say the Chiefs are favored by 5.5 in that game. But another game, it doesn't really matter for the division, but it matters for the Steelers. Pittsburgh at 8-5. They're at Cincinnati 5-7-1. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts, and Evan Washburn have the play-by-play. The Steelers are only favored by 3, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, these are two bitter rivals. These are two teams that hate each other. You look at these two teams over the last 5 years, these have been some of the most bitter-fought games in the NFL. You got to look at Vontaze Burfict. You know he's good for at least one personal foul. But he and Brown, you remember them a couple of years ago in the playoff where he knocked him out coming over the middle of the field?
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those games that, you know, the Steelers, and you look at Ben Roethlisberger last week, Charlton, he didn't look that good.
No, not at Buffalo.
You know, Le'Veon Bell had the 236 yards rushing, but Ben didn't look good, you know, with the 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows how to defend the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, Marvin Lewis knows how to get that done in Cincinnati. So Pittsburgh can't afford a hiccup this week, Charlton. They really can't.
Yeah.
They expect to stay in that wild card position. But, you know, Cincinnati is not going to be down. I think Cincinnati will cover the spread, Charlton.
Well, that's going to be a good game, especially for Pittsburgh. They got to win that one. Another game that has playoff implications all over it, Big C. The Detroit Lions are relevant again. They're 9-4. They're at the New York Giants, also 9-4. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. The great Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews are doing that play-by-play, and the Giants are favored by 4 at home. Big C, your thoughts?
That game is outside, isn't it?
Yes, outside, yep.
And where does Detroit play?
In a dome, yes.
All right. Take the Giants, even though Eli Manning will throw 2 interceptions.
Well, it is Christmas season, so Eli Manning likes to give out gifts, Big C. But I agree with you. New York, if they can just get the ball to Antonio Beckham, they are so difficult to handle, Big C. Another big game that's coming up. Indianapolis is 6-7. They're at the Minnesota Vikings at 7-6. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon have the play-by-play. The Vikings are favored by 4 at home. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is another excuse game for Andrew Luck, Joseph. We got to figure out, what everybody's not doing to help him out, whether it's Pagano, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the receivers who can't get open and he can't find the open guy down the field.
Yeah.
So, this is one of those things. With Adrian Peterson, they're talking about Adrian Peterson coming back playing for the Vikings, Charlton. Now, he hasn't played this week 2 of the season since suffering that meniscus tear. A miraculous athlete when it comes to recovery.
Yeah.
We look at the total knee replacement he had a couple seasons ago. Charlton came back, led the league in rushing.
Yeah.
And now he's back after an early season knee injury on a meniscus. Not as severe as ligament, but, nevertheless, he's a running back, and he's not a young running back any longer, Charlton. This is something that Sam Bradford sorely needs, a running game. And if Adrian Peterson can come in and average over 4 yards a carry, the Vikings will get back into the playoffs, Charlton.
Well,
this is what they need, that boost.
Well, they're definitely a very good team. And speaking of very good, needing a boost, this segment is sponsored by your California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? Tonight's Mega Millions is only $60 million, Big C, so you probably won't be getting out of bed for that one. But on the Powerball on Saturday, Big C, that one's up to $120 million, Big C. Now, that's something that a lot of people are going to go out and buy. I keep saying that it's already been won by Charlton and Big C Sports. I'm going to do what all the preachers say. I'm going to keep praying about it and keep thanking God for it, Big C. But what would you do with $120 million extra dollars, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'd probably gain a little weight, because I'm becoming a fat cow, as they say.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat, a few things that I haven't tried, because I'm going to go to the origin of where they're naturally cooked. So I will be on a plane traveling extensively.
Okay, that sounds good, Big Z. And also back into the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-11. They're at the Houston Texans and the great Brock Osweiler. And the great Brock Osweiler has the Texans at 7-6. That game is Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Andrew Catalan and Steve Tasker, as well as Steve Berline, have the play-by-play. And the Texans, with a quarterback that averages about 100 yards passing the game, they're favored by 6 points, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the Texans are going to have to play some strong defense.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that, Blake Bortles can actually look like an NFL quarterback and possibly get his team a win.
Yeah.
That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. As we've seen with Houston, Charlton, the inconsistency in their passing game. If they're running the ball, fine, but the inconsistency in their passing game, and you look at what they're paying their running back versus what they're paying their quarterback, and they don't win unless their running back plays well.
Yeah, that's
their quarterback is a non-entity. You pay a guy $75 million to be a non-entity in your offense, where you could have used any of the quarterbacks you already had on the roster. Their record this year, Charlton, it's no better at this time of season than what it was last year when they had Hoyer and a couple other quarterbacks, Savage, playing quarterback for them, and also Mallett. They played 3 quarterbacks last year, Charlton, and have the same record. And those 3 quarterbacks combined, Charlton, didn't make $15 million.
Yep, that's
okay? They probably didn't make $10 million. But you want to give a guy $75 million, and your productivity offensively is actually less than what you had a year ago.
Yeah, it's funny when he's so inconsistent, and we want everyone to do well, but the 2 quarterbacks in the state of Texas, one has his team with the best record in the league, and the other guy struggling to even get above 500. Guess which one they're talking about benching, Big C? Then as we get on to the next game, we have the Green Bay Packers. They are 7-6 with the great Aaron Rodgers. They're at the Chicago Bears, which are 3-10 on the season, Big C. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The great Kevin Burkhardt, John Lynch, and Pam Oliver had the play-by-play. The Packers are favored by 5.5 against the Bears team that's starting to find its own a little bit. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, there's not much offensively with Matt Barkley playing quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He's the most consistent quarterback that they've had all year. But, you know, this is a total team effort when you talk about the NFL, and the Bears have not been able to put that together consistently this year. On the other hand, when you look at Green Bay, nobody talks about sitting down Aaron Rodgers when Green Bay is scoring a lot of points that they're running it. You know, they're running it in on their opponent.
Yeah.
You know, when they beat Seattle 38 to 10 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
No one said that they were rubbing it in.
No.
You know, so it all depends on the perspective that you're looking at it from, Charles.
That's a good point.
Guy that you say, well, hey, you know, he's the darling. You got to give him a chance to develop. You can't do things like this. Yes, you can. You're paying him.
Yeah.
He's willing to get that paycheck. You know, so you can do whatever you want to him.
That's funny.
But when you look at Green Bay, you know, this is a game that you know, Green Bay seems to have caught their stride.
Yeah.
They still don't have a sufficient running game right now. I mean, it's run by committee. They're even running a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, a wide receiver is active, Charlton, as a running back. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers right now, you know, last week he had a 150 QBR rating.
Yeah.
In the game, the highest in the league all season, Charlton. So if he continues to play at that pace, Green Bay will back themselves into the playoffs.
Well, Big C, another big game coming up. Not really a big game, but as far as playoff position, but it's a big game as far as keeping jobs. The Cleveland Browns are 0-13. I don't think they need to win any game so they can kind of position themselves for the draft. And they're at the Buffalo Bills, which gave the Steelers all they could handle last week. And the Bills are 6-7. Their coach is fighting for his job. And that game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Tom McCarthy, Adam Archuleta, and they are doing the play-by-play. The Bills are favored by 10 points at home, Big C. Your job is to keep the job if you're the Bills coach. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, you know, Rex Ryan, Charlton, is on the hot seat. The Browns, I don't think the Browns will win, Charlton, but, you know, also, by them having the number 1 overall pick in the draft,
yeah,
all that's going to do is destroy some young player's career, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to do. This is a team that's devoid of talent.
Yeah.
When you look at NFL caliber talent, it's not that the Browns are a bad team, Charlton. They're a bad organization.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go to the crux of it. People are going to sit there and blame things on Hugh Jackson. You know, you can take the University of Alabama and play the Browns, and I think you got a pretty close game. and I think Alabama may be favored going into the game.
Yeah.
Regardless of all the guys on the Browns being NFL players, they're not quality NFL players. Charlton, when you think about this team, who do you recognize on the team, Charlton? No one.
Yeah.
So this is an organization, when you look at their best offensive linemen, Charlton, they're now on other teams getting ready to play for the playoffs.
Yeah.
They lost their best offensive tackle who will be in the playoffs. They lost their center who will be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about developing an offensive line, what you've had 6 different quarterbacks, 5 different quarterbacks start.
Yeah.
For the team this year, Charlton, there's no continuity, there's no consistency. And when you compare that to Dallas, who had 1 quarterback start all year long, they have 11-2 record.
Yeah.
Versus the team that has started 5 or 6 quarterbacks and haven't won a game all year.
Yeah.
You feel bad for the Browns fans as an organization. That's who you feel bad for, because they hired this general manager out of baseball who was an analytics guy.
Yeah.
Analytics and football don't work unless you're a statistician,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
You know, keeping the lines scored.
Yeah. Hey, statisticians can help you. Statisticians work for football, and the analytics also work for. I understand you guys use analytics when you're putting together that moonshine, Big C, so it does have some purpose, Big C. Does it?
I'm only analyzing Charlton the strength in the jar, okay?
Okay, that's funny.
If the jar starts to waver a little bit, that means it's too hot to drink.
That's so funny, Big C. Another game coming up for the NFL. We have what could be another MMA mixed martial arts type of game. The Philadelphia Eagles with the great Carson Wentz at 5-8 on the road at the Baltimore Ravens, which has to win to stay competitive and try to stay up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 7-6 on the season, and that game is Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The great Kenny Albert, Daryl Johnson, and Laura Oakman are doing the play-by-play. The Ravens are favored by 5.5. Wentz is going to have to throw the football, but can he stay up against this Ravens defense? Big C, your thoughts?
I'm not a very smart man. I'm only need some help. You spell this one
Yeah. I think it's BLITC, Big C, but I also may have a little bit of CTE, so I might be wrong, Big C. Yeah.
Because they're going to bring the heat. You got Elvis Dumerville and Suggs.
Yeah.
You know, two of the best pass rushers in the NFL. They're going to come all night, and they're going to mix it in with a little safety and linebackers, also dogs coming at it.
Yeah.
They're going to come at Darren Sproles may not play this week, Charlton, so they lost the key element of their offensive special team if Darren Sproles is not there.
Yeah.
You know that Matthews has done nothing at running back all year for the Eagles other than the first game of the season. You know, he's always getting nicked up. That's been the story of his NFL career. And who do you go to at wide receiver? You have no consistency. You don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball over 20 yards down the field consistently, Charlton. So I like the Ravens, who's going to be stinging from that loss last week against New England.
Yeah.
They have something to prove. Joe Flacco has to come back and show he's not going to be the second best quarterback on the field this weekend.
Well, Big C, speaking of the best, this segment is also sponsored by United Labor. Guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. We are also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. We also work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports at Yes Charlton on Twitter. And also, just to know, we're trying to put people back to work, so find us on Twitter at Yes Charlton and make sure that we can talk to you about working with United Labor. Also, Big C, I want to just touch on this game. The 49ers are 1-12. They're on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 8-5. Atlanta's fighting for a playoff spot. That game is Sunday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The great Tom Brenneman, Charles Davis, and Chris Spielman are doing the play-by-play, along with the great Peter Shager. The Falcons are favored by 14 at home in the Dome. Big C, your thoughts on that game?
Well, I think the Falcons talked about full of Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And fit their top players.
Yeah.
You know, the 49ers coming into town, Charlton, because, I mean, you know, Julio Jones has been a little banged up, Muhammad Sanu, but when you look at what they did against the Rams last week, Charlton, out there on the road in Los Angeles, scoring, six touchdowns in the game.
Yeah.
They scored 6 against the Rams, and we know how, you know, porous that the 49ers defense is. You know, the quarterback is not going to tackle anybody, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, you know, expect the Matt Ryan to go 350 yards in the air versus the 49ers. Although Kaepernick has had some success, and in the Georgia Dome in the past, we're talking about in the past.
Different
he
team.
had an offensive line at that time, Charlton. He also had Frank Gore in the backfield. You know, running the football, and you know, Davis at tight end. So this is a completely different, you know, organization now. And so take the points. Take Atlanta. They're going to cover, Charlton. San Francisco has no defense.
Well, Big C, another big game coming up. The New Orleans Saints at 5-8, and the Arizona Cardinals at 5-7-1. That game's in the desert. That's Sunday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. The great Chris Myers, Rondé Barber, and Jennifer Hale are doing the play-by-play. The Cardinals are favored by 2.5. And I say it's a big game when you look at the salary, and there's nothing wrong with Drew Brees. He's just still lighting it up. Carson Palmer can still throw the ball deep downfield, but these two quarterbacks are on teams that are not going to see the playoffs this year. Big C, your thoughts on that game?
Well, you know, you still got Larry Fitzgerald, a Hall of Fame receiver, and this week he should eclipse 100 receptions on the season, Charlton, in this game. Drew Brees, though, threw 3 interceptions last week. You know, an anti-Drew Brees game. But, you know, these are two veterans that still have pride, Charlton, when you talk about Palmer and Brees. Two defenses that have not lived up to what people expected of them, Charlton, especially Arizona. When you look at the talent that they had and a couple of players that they brought in the draft, you really thought Arizona would have something defensively this year. They just haven't had it, Charlton. This is a toss-up game. You know, because you got the tremendous secondary in Arizona that always doesn't play up to its capability. You got Drew Brees that is always going to get you 300 yards, Charlton. The difference, I think, will be Johnson, the running back for the Cardinals, that he can establish the ground game, keep, you know, New Orleans defense off balance, and give, you know, the Cardinals a chance to win this game.
Well, Big C, a game that has not only playoff implications, but if you have talking about a first-round bye implications, in the AFC, the Oakland Raiders, they're 10-3, and they're taking the black hole down in San Diego, maybe for the last time this season, Big C. Maybe not even next season, because who knows what's going to happen with the Chargers and relocation. Even the Oakland Raiders and all that talk, Big C. But the Raiders are 10-3. They're at San Diego, which is 5-8. That game is Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. And the great Spiro Ditas is doing the play-by-play with Solomon Wilcox. The Raiders are only favorite by 3 going on the road, Big C, with a much better offense. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charles, I like San Diego in this game, and I'll tell you why. The Raiders, I believe, are an emotional hangover from last week's loss to Kansas City.
Wow.
They expected to go in and win that game and get separation in the division. That didn't happen. They looked very mediocre, Charles. And when you think about that game, Kansas City dominated from start to finish.
Yeah.
The Raiders just found no rhythm at all night long. I know the game was cold, but they're going to be down in San Diego. And this is a bitter division rivalry. And what would San Diego like more than anything in beating the Raiders?
Yeah.
Putting them really in sole possession of second place in the division and basically locking up the division for Kansas City.
Well,
so I like the Chargers. I like Phillip Rivers just to go out and play with a lot of tenacity in this game. And I look for the Raiders to suffer a hangover from their loss last week in Kansas City and drop their second consecutive game, Charles.
Well, that's the land of the Holy Rover when you go back to Ken Stabler and Catherine, so should be a great matchup. I look for the Raiders maybe to pull out a close one, Big C, but I think you're right. There's a lot of good valid points there. Another huge game in the AFC. The New England Patriots 11-2 at the Denver Broncos, last year's defending Super Bowl champions. They were 8-5 and fighting for their playoff lives. That game is Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The great Jim Nantz, your friend, Big C, Phil Simms, and Tracy Wilson, as well as Jay Feely, have the play-by-play. And they have the Patriots favored by 3 on the road at Denver. And, I tell you, Brady has a losing record when they play at Mile High Stadium. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a different Patriots team this year, Charles. You saw what they did last week in Baltimore. Brady right now, when Gronk is not in the lineup, people don't realize the Patriots are a better team. As much as publicity and love that he gets from the media, they are a better team when Gronk is not in the lineup. You look, Brady's utilizing all the receivers at that point, Charlton. And when you look at their record this year, it's because of the plethora of receivers that they use, sort of like Dallas when Dennis Bryant was out of the lineup and how Prescott had a chance to develop, utilizing all of his tools on offense. And that's what I like about New England going into this game. You look at Simeon. He's throwing the ball, Charlton, 40 to 50 times every game that they play. Yeah. So that means something's wrong with their offense, that it's imbalanced. They have no running game. And when you have no running game, you look at what happened to them last week in Tennessee. They could not establish the run. Tennessee could, and that was the difference in the ball game. McGarrett Blunt, Charlton, what is it, the third leading rusher in the NFL?
Yeah.
Fourth leading rusher
He's off the hook.
Just a powerhouse with a running back. And so New England has a very well-balanced offense. Yes, Denver has a great pass rush, but that pass rush, when you got the screens and the draws working, has been minimized at that point. And Tom Brady's not going to sit there and try to throw the ball 40 to 50 yards down the field. He's going to get rid of it quick. Take New England in this game, Charles.
Well, Big C, I want to say this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We're also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to put Americans back to work. Big C, tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports. And I do want to say that the sports industry is a billion-dollar industry, and Big C Sports on iHeartRadio is part of that billion-dollar industry. We absolutely love what we do. We're the only freestyle sports show in the United States. That means no teleprompter, no producer in your ear. We do it extemporaneously, and we have a great time doing it, Big C. So I want to thank everyone for listening to Charlton and Big C Sports as we grow our audience worldwide, from the UFC to NFL football, NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, hockey, boxing, MMA, golf. We do it all, Big C. And one of the games that has the most intrigue by the media is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Jerry Jones Palace, and they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. We have Tampa Bay at 8-5. The Cowboys 11-2. That game is Sunday at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC Sports. The great Al Michaels, no one does it better. Chris Collinsworth and Michelle Tafoya have the play-by-play. The Cowboys are favored by 7 points with the best team in the NFC, Big C. But this guy, ironically, is the guy they talk about benching over all the other players in the NFL. He has his team in first place, Big C, and they're talking about switching. It doesn't make any sense. Your thoughts on Tampa going into Dallas, Big C?
Well, Charlton, they ran off 11 in a row.
Yeah.
11 victories in a row. Tampa has run off 5 consecutive wins. Both of these quarterbacks are playing well at this point in the season, Charlton, even though Prescott was down a little bit. But Ezekiel Elliott has been that consistent 100-yard game back, Charlton. You know, he's been a dominant force all year long. And when you think about Dallas's defense, you know, everybody's talked about them winning the 11 games and put it all on Elliott and Prescott.
Yeah.
You have to give some kudos to Dallas defense. They got a defense that nobody knows who's over there, but they're one of the top 5 ranked defenses in the NFL, Charlton, where everybody thought they would be in the 420s. And they have proven their worth this year, Charlton, keeping Dallas in play in close games. That's been the difference maker, is their defense that has allowed them to win these close games. Now, you think about it. They lost 2 games to the Giants, Charlton, by a total of 4 points.
Yeah.
4 points. You lose 2 games by a total of 4 points. Who in the heck is saying you're a bad team or a bad quarterback?
I think there's been an over-surplus of moonshine, and a lot of these analysts are drinking it, Big C. They're chomping at the bits to get the guy who's led his team to first place to sit the bench again for some reason. Doesn't make any sense, but when you drink a lot of moonshine, a lot of things don't make sense, Big C. So,
you know, what I would love, you know, these guys on television and in radio, every time they start talking about, Romo replacing Dak Prescott, I would love for all of them to say, hey, we want you to now listen to the stupid fool section, okay, of our program. Because the stupid fool is going to give you a reason why.
Yeah.
This is stupidity.
Yeah.
No one has gone around, Charlton, in any professional sport and talked about replacing a starter who has 2 losses on his resume by a total of 4 points.
Yeah.
4 points, Charlton, not 40. 4 points.
Yeah.
So, when you look at that, and you would think that Prescott is just being blown out. You thought he was playing for the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, Big C,
everybody talks about it.
I have a great idea, Big C. I have a great idea. You know, let's take LeBron James and let's not start him. Won't that make Cleveland a better chance to win a championship? That's a great idea. Let's do that. Not only LeBron James, let's take Steph Curry and sit him. Don't even let him play. That will help the Golden State Warriors have a better chance of winning a championship. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
You can look at that even with key players in baseball and hockey.
Yeah.
Start taking the leaders of all these professionals.
Yeah, let's do it.
And let's sit them down because that was the old guy that used to play.
Yeah.
That couldn't get the job done. And the young guys come in now. It would be like taking Wayne Gretzky, Charlton, in the prime of his career, and saying, hey, Wayne, you can't play. Because we got this guy, Gordie Howe, who used to play years ago.
Yeah.
Who was a great one until you came along.
Yeah.
And we're going to replace you with Gordie Howe.
Well,
and that's basically the scenario we're looking at, Charlton, in that game. You can't do that. And so when people think that, Tony Romo is the answer in Dallas, he is not the answer. He is the headache more than he is anything else. And I understand Jerry Jones is the ringleader of the three-ring circus.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. He does everything he can for his marketing, and this is truly just a marketing point to keep the interest on the Dallas Cowboys. He can't be realistic in thinking about forcing the hand of Jason Garrett, saying put Tony Romo in. For what? What does it prove, Charles? Nothing.
Well, Tony Romo has won one playoff game in 12 years, Big C, and the one they won was a disputed call that wasn't made against the Detroit Lions, Big C. So if that's what they won, I'm sure all the other teams in the playoffs, especially Pete Carroll, would love that he would start Tony Romo, Big C, because that's where he got broken up last time. The last NFL game, the Carolina Panthers, Big C, they are 5-8 at the Washington Redskins, 7-5-1, and that game was Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, and the play-by-play is Sean McDonough, John Gruden, and Lisa Salters. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, Charlton, all of these games are very important. That's where we are at this point. And this is one of those games, when you think about it, the winner in this game, well, as a matter of fact, the loser is just going home.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
The loser is going home, man. I mean, the season's over. And that's the toughest thing about football, is that you can fight all year long. You can get down to one game. We looked at the last season with the Bills and the Jets.
Yeah.
Both teams one game away from the playoffs. And how do you call your season a success or even a failure?
Yeah.
Because you missed the playoffs by one game. But this is what we're looking at right now, Charlton. And so, you're jockeying for the draft. You're jockeying to keep a job.
Yeah.
And that's what this comes down to.
Well, Big C, I'm telling you, there's something that happens in the world of sports, in the world of politics, and I always love bringing it up because it is real talk, and I know the bowl games are starting up soon, and Christmas is here, and I do want to talk about all of these colleges that are getting ready for the free labor. Contrast that to the NFL and the NBA, which just had signed this agreement for the NBA. I think it's a $24 billion package, Big C. So the great Adam Silver really doing a good job at making sure that the league stays profitable with all of its players, Big C. And ironically, I was just talking to Mark Tennis, who's the owner of Cal High Sports, and we'll be doing some work with him coming up here. And they're covering the state high school playoffs up here in Northern California. And there's no pay for young kids. We understand that. But this college level thing, where there's about $1 billion to be traded hands, Big C, because of TV and revenue, that may seem like a lot of money, but it's not, Big C. You know why? Because how much does it cost to build a stadium, Big C, right now, a new NFL stadium?
Well, everybody's talking Charleston anywhere between $1.2 and $1.8 billion. So, I mean, that stuff you keep in the garage or in the mattress. Even a college stadium, Charleston, look at the amount of money that's put into a college stadium, because they've all gone to expansion, putting in luxury boxes, Charleston, because it's about revenue generating.
Yeah.
The major colleges are playing 8 home games, Charleston. They're not on the road that much. They will pay people to come in. They will pay a university $1 million to come in so that they don't have to travel, because they're going to make $5 million, $7 million on the gate and revenue from the home game, Charleston.
Well, Big C.
So all of this money that's being generated is just mind-boggling these days.
It's always there, Big C. It's always there for everybody. And I want to tell everybody, no matter what you're doing, put some money into programs that help youth. I was just doing some interviews down here by Golden One Center, talking to a lot of people who are involved in the MMA, Big C, and there are a lot of people that want to put programs together that will help the youth and keep them going straight, keep them off the streets, and that's what sports can do. The sports business is so big. So I want people to keep that in mind as you start hearing, and you're going to hear a lot of it, about what game. I think we have 41 bowl games coming up, Big C, and all of this is just free labor, and there's some things going on in the world of sports where everybody's talking about getting more revenue, except for the most highly exploited segments in the sports business, and that's a young black American athlete. I hope that we find a way to solve that. I want to say this final segment is sponsored by BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org and also CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to promotion, Cynthia Evans, she's the best in Northern California. Also, we're coming out with the Big C Sporting clothing line. We'll be launching that in the first part of the year. You can buy all of your athletic apparel through Team IP and G5 Textiles, and we'll feature the Big C Sports brand. We're going to launch that worldwide. So hopefully, if you want to go out and find the hottest sports show in the universe, just follow iHeartRadio. If you want to get the hottest merchandising, Big C, just follow Big C Sports, and we'll tell you more about our clothing line coming up. The last thing I want to touch on, Big C, the NBA last night, Golden State, they had a good game against the Knicks, but a lot of sad hearts because of Sager's passing. But I love the way that Coach Kerr honored him before the game. Instead of having that moment of silence, they all had everyone stand up and cheer as Golden State beat the Knicks 103 to 90, Big C. Your thoughts, again, on Craig Sager as we go into the weekend. A lot of people, from Charles Barkley to Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, they all had so many touching things to say about him. Let's just close out the show, again, with your thought on Craig Sager. After I just run out a few more scores, it was the Bucks 108 to 97 over the Bulls. The Nuggets 132 to 120 over the Trailblazers, Big C. And also it was the Spurs 107-92 over the Suns. And the Pelicans, they had a win over the Pacers 102 to 95. But just a lot of emotion and thought about the Sager family and his wonderful wife and how he has been doing what he did at the highest level, and he made dressing fun also, Big C. Your thoughts again as we go into this beautiful weekend on the great Craig Sager, Big C.
Well, you think about Craig Sager, Charleston, how colorful he was. And that colorfulness came from the heart. The boldness and brashness of a man to be able to carry that out game in, game out, Charleston. But not only that, when we talked about the relationships and the respect that he developed with the players and coaches throughout the league, how he was much as an icon to the NBA as the players were, Charleston. People people expected to see Craig Sager. When you said TNT, you didn't think about Barkley, you didn't think about Shaq, you didn't think about Kenny Smith, you didn't think about Ernie Jones.
Yeah.
You thought about Craig Sager, Charlton, the man who was going to bring you the insight at the game, the sideline reporter who was not going to ask the dumb, repetitive questions,
Yeah.
Charlton. He had basketball insight. He had sports savvy. That's what he brought to the profession. He brought professionalism, Charlton. He didn't bring a pretty face. He brought professionalism. And when you think about how he started and where he had grown to, Charlton, you know, he started out, this is a small-town radio guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when he got out of college, that's where it was.
Yeah.
You know, he was the guy that people didn't remember, but he was the guy who ran around third base with Hank Aaron with the microphone and a
yeah.
reel-to-reel tape recorder to record Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
You know, Craig Sager was an innovator. When you think about this is when he broke Babe Ruth's record back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And how he advanced sideline reporting in basketball to make it real, to make it tangible, to take you into a player. And the relationship, players look forward to talking with Craig because they knew that Craig would be honest and straightforward with questioning them, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to miss. You're not going to get Craig Sager again, but those jackets that he wore, Charlton, that was just something else. I mean, it was a 70s throwback all the time. You thought he was part of the ABA when you look at those colorful uniforms that they had back in that era. But Craig Sager will sorely be missed, Charlton. His candor, his professionalism, and his love and respect for the game.
Well, Big C, you close it out like nobody can. And I just want to say to everybody, whatever you want to do in life, do what makes your heart happy. He did that, and I think that's a great example for all of us to follow. And I just want to say to everyone, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. We call it Real Sports Talk because we're the #1 show in the universe, and we do it extemporaneously, freestyle, no producer, no teleprompter. We also want to say there's never any reason for any woman to go through any type of domestic violence. If you know anyone going through that garbage, just call 911. Don't make her have to go through that stuff all on her own. And I want to tell you there's some great fights coming up at the UFC Center, Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. Going to be on Fox Sports. Pay attention to that. And also we'll have a wrap-up on that on Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network next Monday. I want to also tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.